Hero here for Umbra Games with a review of South Park: The Stick of Truth, played on Xbox 360. This review was requested via Twitter by @RickWillisKC, the biggest South Park fan I think I know. If you're not familiar with the South Park TV show and its content, for many seasons they pushed the envelope about what could or should be shown on television, and as a viewer warning, the mentality is present in this game, and thus the clips that you'll be seeing during this review. I guess some of what is shown could also be considered spoilers through the places and enemies that you'll see as well, but I'll do my best not to say anything in case you haven't played it yet. As a new kid in South Park, kindly referred to by all as douchebag, you're sent out by your parents to go out and make new friends. Just so happens that nearly all of the boys in South Park are engaged in a fantasy battle live role-playing game of elves versus humans, where both seek control of the coveted Stick of Truth. The Stick of Truth allows wielders to control the universe and everything in it according to these boys' imaginations. Now, there is a 3-episode arc of the show in Season 17 that leads perfectly into the beginning of this game with the episode called Black Friday. It's a Game of Thrones spoof of the boys in their fantasy gear. Now, I've probably seen about 60 or 70 episodes of South Park in whole, mainly towards the beginning of the series, but a few here and there, and I feel like I got a good majority of the jokes and the quest content. I would argue that knowing these things a little beforehand will enrich the experience a bit, but is not necessary. However, you can find guides online that give you some suggested viewing before you play. South Park plays like a turn-based RPG because, as Eric Cartman, the King Wizard, says, that's the way people fought in olden times. You pick your character class when you begin the game, which determines your abilities, but doesn't limit your weapon or armor choices. You also get to have one buddy at a time from a growing list through story progression to complement whatever class you select, from Butters the Paladin to Jimmy the Bard. You can see enemies on the map before you engage in combat. You can get first turn by hitting the attack button or shooting them with your ranged weapon before they try the same on you. Once combat is initiated, you choose from using your melee weapon, ranged weapon, abilities, items, or summons. Once an attack is selected, you're instructed what to press while your character performs the attack in order to make the abilities successful or attacks more powerful. These range from time button presses to pattern input to mashing the button as quickly as possible. The same mechanic works for defense as well, as a time button press reduces damage taken to each character, ignoring attempted enemy status effects when perfectly executed, and sometimes opens up the ability for a counterattack. There are a handful of buffs and debuffs, including bleeding, burning, and gross out, where you can eat HP refilling foods while it's active. There's a shield mechanic where no matter how hard you hit the enemy, it will only take down one of their shields. Armor, which reduces the amount of damage, as well as riposte and reflect stances that stop melee attacks with a counter and return projectiles to damage you respectively. Now, sometimes battle can be avoided entirely, as there are often things in the environment that can be interacted with that can knock enemies out of the battle before it even starts. Searching the environment for these provides an additional level of entertainment, but often the battle could be over more quickly than the search for those things themselves, and both award you with the same amount of experience. Experience gains will level Douchebag up to the maximum character level of 15. Every time you level up, you get an ability point to assign to one of 5 abilities, and your HP and PP grow exponentially. One other mechanic of note is that your HP and PP refill after every battle, making each confrontation be the strategy itself instead of resource management. Battles themselves also feel pretty bite-sized, and aside from a few more epic boss fights, they're over fairly quickly. The game also starts off extremely easy while on normal difficulty. I don't think I had to use a healing item until I was about 5 or 6 hours in, and you can only hold 10 of each consumable item, and I often found myself maxed out. So if you come to the game wanting a challenge, be sure to turn up the difficulty. Equipment consists of the aforementioned melee and ranged weapon, and each come with the possibility of having sticker slots, a customization that allows for extra elemental damage, increasing blocking, defense percentage, or extra damage to enemies under specific status effects. You also have a head, chest, and hand slot for equipping armor that can have patches applied to them as well. In addition, there are a few cosmetic slots, one for facial hair, one for glasses, and one for wigs. You can find dye and treasure chests to alter these items even further. Navigating the town of South Park is really fun, getting to see where all locations are in relation to each other, and the town ends up being pretty large. You can fast travel via Timmy flags once they are discovered, allowing you to cover a lot of ground quickly. Many optional areas can only be accessed once you have the ability or navigation tool to do so, including using various forms of farts or other South Park staple items. If you're worried about the town being too small for an entire game, don't worry, there are also trips to additional areas and even a foreign country. Due to its simplistic nature, they were really able to nail the feeling of the show. There's no dialogue to read, and the game is fully produced by all of its voice actors. Cutscenes practically feel like you're watching the show itself. In the goal to obtain more friends on Douchebag's Facebook page, you can try talking to every NPC you see, but a lot of them will have you perform a specific quest before they'll friend you. While it is an optional part of the game, there is a perk system that's based on a cumulative friend count, offering attack, defense, and stat bonuses. There are optional bosses to hunt, gym Pokemon to find, and Mr. Hanky's children to save. Some of the quests reward you with summon items that you can use once a day. The game takes place over 3 days. And you're constantly reminded that you can't use them on bosses.
The Lord is with you, my son, except for boss fights.
You can open almost anything that has a gold handle, revealing equipment, consumable items, and a whole lot of junk that can be sold for cash. Some golden handled things require keys found in other openable containers or obtained by completing quests. While minigames that came before it felt like they were just there to put the South Park name out there to fans of video games and the show, but the Stick of Truth has a lot going for it. Through most of the game, there's some strategy involved in combat, there's a nice diversity in quest content, and a story that answers a question about what it'd be like to play with the children of South Park as one of their own. Now, I won't give any spoilers, but just be ready for some awkward situations, especially if when your father-in-law walks into the room the time you're performing an abortion on a man. Oh, okay, I lied. That's a small spoiler, really, but there's tons of other shocking content, so don't worry. There are a lot of references to other video games, including finding bottle caps in the trash can resembling Fallout, and a lot of mentions of Dragonborn from Skyrim. It's like the creators of South Park, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, with the help of Obsidian Entertainment, just get it. This is how you make a licensed game. Stick of Truth is a little simplistic in its combat, feeling at times like a Paper Mario game. And it does feel a little short with the level cap of 15, and I did nearly all of the side quests and clocked just about under 13 hours. The Stick of Truth is available on Xbox 360, PS3, and PC, and with the new South Park game coming out, The Fractured But Whole, you can even pick this up for free on Xbox One or PS4 with your pre-order. Rated as a turn-based RPG, South Park The Stick of Truth lands at an 81 out of 100 on my 1 to 100 scale, with 50 being an average game. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching. Have a request for an objective review, old or new? Hit me up and follow me on Twitter at Umbra Games. And feel free to subscribe to the Umbra Games channel to stay notified of more reviews.